You're listening to the Reality of It All podcast, candid conversations about today's hot topics. And now here's your host, Tracy Osborne. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the show. Today, we are talking to you working moms out there who, working your butts off and trying to take your lives to the next level. This one's for you. Joining me today is Sasha Morozov, and we are going to have some fun talking about this. So, Sasha, welcome to the show.
Oh my gosh, thank you, Tracy. And yes, I believe that all you working moms out there are amazing humans. And I want to make sure that you hear when I say that you are worth it and own who you are and have fun.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now that doesn't exclude everybody else out there that's working hard but this one's for the moms.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, we're going to start out. I am a mom of 4 and a grandma of 2. And let's see, when my older 2 were little, it was just me. I was a single mom. And so they basically lived in daycare while I struggled trying to make ends meet. When my second set of kids were born, because there's about a 10-year gap in between the two, I was able to actually, I did work for a little bit. And then I was so tired of never being home. I had 4 kids at home and I was never there. I either saw them maybe in the morning before they went to school or, at night before they went to bed. And a lot of times I didn't see them even then. And so that's when I started working from home and started working for myself. And that for me, although it was extremely challenging and still is, was one of the best things I could have done.
Game changer.
Absolute game changer.
Yep.
But it's tough. I'm telling you, sometimes, it's been almost 15 years that I've been working from home. And I still have days where I wish I had a friggin' office to go to so my kids would leave me alone.
Oh, yeah. And you know what? You're not the only one because if COVID has showed us anything, It's for sure anyone that was working outside the home. And don't get me wrong, a lot of people had to still work outside the home, depending on their profession, of course, during the time of most states and cities and countries were on lockdown. But I would say a good majority of us got that taste of working from home with your kids climbing all over you, no matter what age they are. I think that's the funniest thing is that we think, okay, but if they're only a little bit older, if we're around, they still somehow manage to come to us. Am I right?
Oh my gosh. I have finally, I think, trained them that when I have my door shut and my note is up, this is I'm recording, do not disturb. They actually finally get it. It only took 15 years. They're 17 and 19. They finally get when that sign's up, leave mom alone. But if that sign's not up, I'm fair game.
Oh, yeah. Yep. And this is one of the things that I coach women on, in the fact that, hey, what is your situation in terms of working? Are you working from home? Are you working outside the home? Whatever it is, how can we make sure that when you are at home, you're truly enjoying your time there? You're truly looking at your home as a sanctuary. Because even if you're working from home, the second you step out of your quote unquote home office, if you have another space in your house with a closed door that you can step out of, I still want to be able to make sure that women feel empowered and women feel that they're able to have control over their life at home.
Absolutely. And for years, so, my office has kind of bounced around. I've lived in 2 different homes since I've been working from home. And I've had my home in the kitchen, in the dining room, in my bedroom, or not my home, my office. And, now I finally actually have a room, and it's great because when I'm done for the day, I get up and I leave and I'm done. Mm-hmm. When I have my computer in my bedroom, I'm never done because it's right there. The commute is great. Don't get me wrong. That 30-second commute from the bed to the desk, but it's too easy to just hop on the computer for a while.
Oh my gosh. I couldn't agree more because, there's so many obvious benefits of being home, also possibly working in pajamas all day as well. That's a huge one for me.
Right.
And there's so many obstacles you were just touching upon them. And that's what I really try to do with women is I sit down and we think about, okay, well, what's really going on? Is it that you're really not able to disconnect because the computer is right there? Well, let's think of ways. And even with people's phones, because a lot of times we do work on our phones. Mm-hmm. So even if the computer's not there, the phone is there, and thinking about how do you make the space really your own to what you're looking for? Because if you're looking to be really relaxed in your bedroom, let's enhance your bedroom to fit that. Let's make sure there's like candles there. Let's make sure that there's nice linen so you want to get into bed. There's so many ways that we can improve our space that will really make us feel just so much more relaxed and make us want to spend time there.
Absolutely. And, nice linens or not, I always want to get into my bed. I have a love affair with my bed. I love being in it. So some of the things that I've had to overcome over the years, obviously the distractions from the kids and the family and the fact that, they seem to think that just because I'm working from home doesn't mean I'm actually working, but also the other distractions. So for example, when I had my office or my desk in the dining room, I had a perfect view of the sink and I could see the dishes. And speaking of kids, there's one right there. And, and I was right by the laundry and the dogs always wanted to go out. So I'm, always, even now, I'm still always getting up, letting dogs out. And so that's one of the things that you have to kind of learn how to overcome if you're working from home is how to shut off that excess noise.
Yes, not just shut off, but think about really what do you need to get done? Because guess what? That dog is going to need to be walked. Those dishes will need to be clean. So really thinking about being proactive of ways that can get done and that can get done in your schedule. Because I believe that if we're proactive, if we know when something's going to happen, then it's not just mental clutter that we keep in our minds. So if we know that, every day at 2 or I know not everything can happen every day at the exact same time, but let's just say every day at 2, you're going to have a break. You're going to calendar it in and you're going to take the dog for a walk. Then anytime you see the dog, you already know, oh, okay, at 2 is when this is happening. But if we don't have kind of our rhythms, and we do this so much at work, we have so many rhythms, right? Because if we have meetings, we set up those meetings, we attend those meetings, we take notes from those meetings, all of that flows, but we don't necessarily do it for our life at home. And that's where I come in and I say, hey, well, what about this? You're killing it at work. You're doing great. Let's transfer some of those skills you're already doing, but just think of it as home in a different way.
Yeah, absolutely. I've seen people who really color code their calendars, and they block off family time. They block off personal time. They block off, I will never, ever, ever, ever be that organized. Ever.
Totally. And that's okay.
Tried.
And that's okay.
And that is okay. I figured out what works for me.
Exactly. And that's exactly it. Because I feel like we see Marie Kondo, or we see kind of, these celebrities that are super organized and have the color coded or have like the socks perfectly like rolled up and that's okay. That's not us. Own it that's not you. But also let's just figure out to make sure those socks are at least in a drawer. That's all. Let's start at the basics. You don't have to color code your calendar, but let's figure out when certain things are going to happen. Like, if you're a morning person, then maybe get get those dishes done in the morning. If they pile up throughout the day, so what? They pile up throughout the day. You know that for you, you're much better in the morning. So next morning is when you're going to get to do those dishes. There's ways. And I just feel like we as women don't give ourselves enough credit, because we feel like if we don't have the perfectly like socks put away in that drawer, that we're not organized, that we're not good enough in the sense of that we're, have it all together and we're ready for anything. But what I'm saying is, dude, that works for them, but something's got to give. The time they're putting in for rolling up those socks, that's time away from something else. So what is it that you really want to spend your time on? And what are some things that we know just need to get done?
Absolutely. And, and this goes for whether you're working from home or you're working from outside the home too. I know we're talking about working from home a lot just because that's, where we're at right now. But, you have to create that balance. And it's so easy. I'm a workaholic. And so I actually have to force myself to stop working, because it's nothing for me to work 12, 15 hours a day and always have something to do, and that's just how I am. That's how I roll. So I know that about myself. And so I have to create boundaries for myself in order to have that work-life balance.
Yes. And also thinking about it as, I kind of look at it as a pie with 3 parts, which is the work part, the home part, and the personal part.
Yes.
And when that pie isn't, divided up equally, the 33%, 0.33, whatever, then some things are off balance. So taking a look at it and figuring out what in each slice of that, what's most important? What do you want to make sure that you get done? Because at the end of the day, we all have the same amount of hours in a day. And we feel like we see other people are like, oh my gosh, they're doing like everything in a day. Well, again, something's got to give. So on your pie, what's most important? On your pie, what do you want to be at the top of the list? Because if we look at it that way, it's much easier to transition from work to home or from work to something for yourself, because you know that that's something that's important to you.
And, while we're talking about the self, let's really focus on that for a minute, because as moms, that is the one area where if something has to give, that's the area, right? We put ourselves last all the time. I see people out there always, well, it's, kids first and then your husband, or God first and then your kids and then your husband, however they want to do it. And no, it should be self first always.
It should be. But at the same time, this is what I totally coach people on, because they say the same thing. They're like, I know I should focus. I know that I should, but and I'm saying, look, wherever you are, that's okay. So let's start small step, because let's figure out just one thing this week that you want to do for yourself. And that doesn't mean a spa day for 5 hours. Okay. One small thing that you want to do for yourself, even if it's something just a half hour, even if it's something just as taking a bath for a half hour, whatever it is, let's think of something small. Let's get you in a habit of doing that. Because once we start with something, it's a lot easier to add on to that and to take more steps towards that. So for anyone listening, if you know that you should be prioritizing yourself and you're not, cut yourself some slack. We're all in the same boat. None of us are perfect, but try to do one thing this week. Just one.
And it could be as simple as, brush your hair, get out of your pajamas.
Oh my gosh, don't one day of not wearing yoga pants. Okay. That I think for me would be like, all right, fine. I get it.
I used to joke all the time and say, I'm getting dressed up when I put a bra on. That was my, but 100%. Definitely. We have to do something, because if we don't, then our cup gets empty and we can't pour from an empty cup. And, we have all these other cups that we have to fill, and we can't fill them when we're empty. If you get sick because you haven't been taking care of yourself and you let yourself get run down, who's going to take care of the kids, the dogs, the husband, the, the
Mm-hmm.
laundry, and who is going to handle it? Nobody.
Yes. Nobody is going to take care of you unless you take care of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And we are the natural caretakers. We're the ones that are naturally taking care of the house. We're naturally taking care of the kids, just exactly how you just mentioned. We're naturally doing that. So if we're the ones that are doing that, who's taking care of us? It maybe some people do. Maybe some people have a partner that really does push them. Or maybe this is the part where if you have a partner, you ask them to be your accountability person. So that way they know you best, and they see where, you're kind of falling off the cliff a little bit, and they're able to come in and say, hey, take the evening off. And you have that understanding. But they're not going to do that unless you have those proactive conversations. They're not going to know that that's what you need unless you start pointing things out like that. So some people need a little bit more push. So that's where I say, if you have if you're lucky enough to have a partner, then, use them as an accountability piece as well.
Absolutely. And, and I was just having this conversation before you and I started talking that, that communication is so important. You can't, especially our men, you just can't expect them to just jump in and help unless you actually give them direction. There's the rarity out there.
Direction.
Yeah, exactly. You can't just say, like the example she gave was, I could tell my husband today's garbage day. And that's the hint for go take out the garbage. When, he's like, oh, okay, thanks for letting me know. Instead of saying today's garbage day, can you take out the garbage? My fiance actually put a alarm on his phone the night before garbage day. So when that alarm goes off, he makes sure that the can is up at the curb. And, and that's, it's just little things like that. But I know that I'm really bad about not saying what I need. And I think that's kind of just ingrained in us.
100%. And it's not just ingrained in us, it's also ingrained in society as well. And that's where we need to look at the bigger picture as well, in terms of role models, in terms of things we see on TV. I know a lot of that is changing now, but if we think about 20 years ago, if we think about when, we were really growing up, a lot of it looked different. And I'm glad that it's changing. I'm glad we're having better women role models and all of this stuff. And at the same time, is we got ways to go as well. And because we got ways to go, we are where we are now. And guess what? We're the only ones living our life. We're the only ones. And this is what I say is that I don't want to just sit back in the back seat of my life. I want to be in the driver's seat. Yep. And I feel like everybody deserves to be in that driver's seat, because you should be the one that is driving the car to wherever your destination is. It doesn't matter where you want. If you want to be a CEO of a Fortune 500 company, amazing. Drive it all the way up that corporate ladder. If you want to travel the world with your kids, amazing. That's an airplane, and you're flying an airplane, and whatever it is, that's the proactiveness, and that's the self-care in a way as well. Because if we're actually taking the time to think about what the future and what we want of the future to look like, then we're so much better able to get there, because then we can actually start making the steps because we know where we want to go.
Right, exactly. What is that? A goal without a plan is just a dream.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what I'm saying. And this is what I say as well, is that just because you have that goal, amazing. But let's start small to make sure you get there, because I think that's why a lot of times people get overwhelmed. A lot of times people start things and they fail or they quit. It's like going to the gym. People say, I want to lose 10 pounds. Amazing. How are you going to do that? Then they're like, I'm going to go to the gym every day. The foundation isn't there to make sure that you follow through. So that's why I say also to make sure you start small, because when we start small, then again, we're able to pick up the steam. When we start up running, we're going to run out of breath so much faster than if we started out jogging or walking.
Right. Very, very true. I mean, that's like, you get off the couch after not having worked out for 10 years and you go to the gym and you get on the treadmill and you run for 45 minutes. And the next day your body's like, nah, we're done. We're done for the year, because you have to start out small. You can't just, jump in and expect to run a marathon. Something I want to cover before we're done. And, and time is running quickly. Gosh, that's gone by fast. Is mom guilt. Because I know, especially when I was a single mom and my girls were always in daycare, I felt guilty that I was never there. And so I made up for it by spoiling them, buying them whatever they wanted, which is totally the wrong way to go about it. But I was 19 and didn't know what I was doing. So let's talk a little bit about that mom guilt.
Yes. This is such a popular topic. So I have two main things I love to say about this. One is quality over quantity, because you girls may have been in daycare all day, but if you were showing up at the end of that day when you pick them up with love and support, that's what they really need. That's what they'll remember when they grow up, and they have grown up. I'm sure it'd be interesting to ask them, what did you remember? So quantity over quality, because somebody could be a stay-at-home mom, but they are just so aggravated and it's just not the right fit for them, but they're staying at home and they're with their kids all day. That doesn't mean that they're enjoying life, and that doesn't mean their kids are enjoying life either. So quantity over quality. I mean, quality over
quality over quantity.
Quality over quantity. And then
it's almost right.
Thing, totally. And the second thing is that I feel like as working moms, or just as moms in general, as working in general, is that we always try to juggle. We try to, like the home, we try to keep the kids, we try to keep our relationship, we try to keep our self-care, all of these balls up in the air at the same time. But what happens is that we can only juggle for so long. One of those balls is bound to drop. So the way I like to look at it is really instead like a pendulum. So that way, you know that sometimes things are going to sway one way. Sometimes you're going to need to work overtime, or there's a big project at work, or whatever may be going on. And the pendulum is going to be on this way. But as long as it swings back, as long as maybe that weekend or something, you do something, but it doesn't need to be spoiling, but it can be just something a little bit special with the family to just have that quality time. And that sometimes, guess what? Kids get sick, you get sick, things happen. Right? Life happens. So sometimes you're going to have to be on the other side of that pendulum, but you know that it's going to swing back. So if we really look at it as this isn't permanent, that this is just a phase, this is just a part, this is just a period, and then things are going to sway a little bit more this way and a little bit more that way. If we look at that, then we kind of let go of that guilt, because then we let go of the fact that it has to be perfect, because we're not talking about it being perfect. We're just talking about right now, this is where my attention is. And then that's where my attention will be next. There's so many times where people, stay home for a number of years and then go back to work. And just like you were saying, they work and then they go to stay home. It's the pendulum. Like sometimes this is what the priority, and out of the options that you have, this is what the best choice is. And then at other times, as time goes on, then the choices change. The priorities may change. There may be a period of life of where you need to pay more attention for your family, for your kids, for mental health, for whatever it is. And that's okay. As long as when that period is over, then we're able to kind of get back to some of the other things that may now need attention.
Right. Oh, absolutely. Well, Sasha, thank you so much for coming on. I could talk about this forever. I know our time is just about up and it's gone by so quick, but thank you so much for coming on and, just talking with me today and giving our listeners some tips and ideas out there.
Absolutely. It has been a pleasure. This is something that I'm really passionate about. And like I said in the beginning, I feel like we are amazing humans. And I just want us all to enjoy life a little bit more, and especially life at home.
Absolutely. Well, listeners, you can find Sasha online. Her website is sashaxhome.com. That's SashaXHome.com. And, connect with her, reach out, say hi. Connect with her on the social. I'll have all of those links down in the show notes for you. So make sure you reach out and talk to Sasha and, have her help you get some balance and some leverage in that whole, working mom thing. So Sasha, again, thank you so much for coming on. This has been awesome.
Oh, thank you, Tracy. Thank you so much. This has been so much fun.
Absolutely. Listeners, thank you as always for tuning in. We'll talk to you next time. That's it for today's show. Thanks for listening. Be sure you subscribe to us on your favorite podcast platform. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, Instagram, and TikTok.